Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We're here for the purpose of the regular meeting of the Elmhurst City Council. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2019. It is 7:44. I would ask that you all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That threw me off a little there. Okay. Let me get this out of the way. Clerk Spencer, please call the roll.
York.
Here.
Pluto.
Here.
Park, absent. Levin.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Conquest.
Here.
Brennan.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
Reuter, absent. Sabatino.
Here.
Leader, absent. Dunn. Absent. And Bram.
Here.
Plumsky.
Here.
That's 10 present, 4 absent.
10 present, 4 absent. We have quorum. We are in session. On to agenda item 3, the Ruth Strand poster contest. I'm going to ask Dave Oberg and Mike Baker to meet me over at the podium over here. Michael knows. My tie? My tie? I got issues, Pete? Thanks, Pete. One mayor looking out for the other. All right. Okay, every year we hold a Ruth Strand poster contest. Ruth was a librarian. Was she a children's librarian, Dave? Dave's going to fill us in on this. Director forever. I asked Dave how many years, and he said a long time. Anyway, in Ruth's memory, we hold a poster contest with the local schools and ask the kids to draw a piece of Elmhurst in their choosing. And I'm going to turn it over to Dave Oberg. This contest is run with the Heritage Foundation in conjunction with our History Museum, and Dave's going to fill us in on the rest. Mr. Oberg. Thank you.
So people often ask me, what's my favorite part of my job? And it's always hard to really pick out one item, but this is definitely up there. We ask our second grade students to, share with us an image and a story of a piece of Elmhurst history that speaks to them in some way, shape, or form. And I love seeing what our future has to say about the past. There's just nothing better than this. And we had quite a few participants this year, and I have to say, it's a great honor to participate in the Ruth Strand poster contest. In addition to being a longtime director at the library, also a founding member of what would become the Elmhurst History Museum. And so it's really cool that we're continuing to share this history. We had this year, come on. Am I out of range? We're gonna go with the analog system here. Thank you, sir. This year we had 363 entries in the 2019 19th annual Ruth Strand poster contest. And I have to say, it was kind of neat. We actually brought the contest back home to the Elmhurst Public Library, where she spent so much of her time. I want to say a very special thank you to our friends at the Elmhurst Public Library for sharing in, and we were actually had these items on display in the Makery. Next, please. You've got a picture of our award winners, but you're going to meet them in just a moment as well. And very excited to share with you some of the things they had to say. So first, we're going to take a look at our honorable mentions. Our honorable mention posters, you can see them all on display there, and you can see them in person here in the gallery as well. And so please join me in applauding Parker Byford, Emma Famarin, Amy Glorioso, Brenner Harges, Anna Heron, Laney Shish, Sam Cianis, and Brittany Solis. I'm next going to introduce you to our third prize winner right there. Natalie Wierzbicki, who chose to share with us the bicentennial fountain. I don't remember having that kind of control on perspective and color like she does. I think it's just fantastic. Give her a round of applause. Second place, Anya Denninger, who chose to share with us, of course, a familiar sight, the Elmhurst Quarry here from Lincoln School. Big round of applause for Anya, please. Again, I love the level of detail there. And next, and our first prize winner, Mia Ofiara from Field School, first place for the York Theater. And look at the level of detail there. Absolutely wonderfully done. Round of applause, please. And I have one last picture to close with here. There we go. Willis Johnson was so thrilled he had to see that one in person as well. So, and we thank Willis and all of the people who support the contest. Our participants always get movie tickets among all their prizes, so it's a great thing. Give a round of applause.
Oh yeah, everybody who was announced, come on up here. We're going to take a picture. Dave and Mike, come with me.
No, that's that.
Mia, you're the winner, but we're all winners.
You didn't draw anything.
What's your name? Ellen? And your name? Amy? And who's got the sister with the unicorn hat on? What's her name? Kaya, okay. Cat? Kara. Kara.
At least we got her name right.
All right, now, I know that all the aldermen want to congratulate you too, so I'm gonna ask you to walk around, start with Alderman Muller there. You're gonna walk around and you shake everybody's hand, okay? All right, go ahead.
Nice work. Congratulations.
Who drew a picture of the quarry? Is that person here? Who drew the picture of the quarry? Anybody?
Nice job.
Second place in the teal. Teal right there.
Bunch of great artists.
March
Good job.
Stormwater Project in Elmhurst.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Nice work. Nice work. Congratulations.
Who's warning him, Mr. Mayor?
Watch the step now.
Yeah.
And reach you, yeah, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Your system.
Oh, you guys are all so cute. Congratulations.
Okay.
You want to wear it?
It's great.
Okay. Alderman Brennan and Alderman Sabatino over there on third base, Alderman Bram will tell you, it's your job now to make sure people don't fall down those stairs,
Got
okay? All right. On to agenda item 4. We'll let these folks step out. You don't have to stay. You can if you want. Stations.
Carly did
Read the descriptions of this and this.
Connor didn't count.
Okay, on to agenda item 4, receipt of written communication from the public. At this time, is there anybody who has any written communication that they wish to hand in? If so, please raise your hand if you have any written communication. Seeing none, we'll go on to public forum. This is an opportunity for anybody in the audience to address the council on any item they so choose. We ask that out of respect for work that we need to get done here this evening, and out of respect for other folks who may want to talk, we ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. I'll be keeping time, and if you go over 3 minutes, I will give you a reminder, a gentle reminder, and ask you to wrap up your comments. When your name is called, we ask that you make your way to the microphone, the far microphone on my right, your left, over there, underneath that light. As we are recording this for the public, we ask that you state your name. Address is optional. Clerk Spencer, at this time, is there anybody who has signed up for public forum?
Yes, Mayor, and we'll start with Tom Morrow.
Okay, Mr. Morrow, just make your way to the microphone behind you. Nope, not that one. There you go. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Tom Morrow. I live on Crown Road.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Okay, I'm here for the necessity. We were trying to put a stoplight on the corner of York Road in Diversey. It's a very important issue. I'm sure there's been many accidents on that corner. Some people have been hit by cars. There's not a time that you really pass by that intersection without some kind of problem with a car stopping or people pulling out of McDonald's, trying to get through. I've been in the area 3 years, and I don't think there's been a few times that I haven't been through there where there hasn't been a problem. It's just, I leave for work at 5 o'clock in the morning, and at that time, there's an issue trying to cross the street because the cars are flying down York Road, and to try to make that turn off of York, off of Diversey, sometimes it's impossible. And I just feel it's such a dangerous issue for cars, people, kids by the school. It's just something I think we should address. Thank you.
Marilyn Sansone.
I'm not good on the microphone, but I'm here for the same reason, and I've lived on Crown Road for 41 years. It is very, very dangerous. I just retired in January, but I took that way to work every day, and it's terrible trying to cross. So I don't know what else to say, but it is very dangerous.
Next, we have Don Gelsomino.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Don Gelsomino. I live at 586 North Willow Road in Elmhurst. Recently just moved there a year ago with my wife and my young son. I'm here for the same reason the other two people just spoke about. One of the main, I'm a teacher and I'm also a football coach at York High School. So a few of the main things that are concerning to me is, you know, everyone's very happy with all the development on the north side of Elmhurst. It's one of the reasons we decided to move back into Elmhurst. My wife decided to move back. It's such a great area. I think with that comes a heavy increase in traffic. And if you ever are in the morning just trying to get breakfast or coffee at McDonald's, trying to stop for gas at Shell, trying to turn out onto York, making a left-hand turn there, even at 6:30, as some people alluded to, 5 in the morning, it's very, very difficult. There's people getting cut off. There's people, I mean, I have not seen an accident. I've seen a lot of close calls that early in the morning. I haven't seen drop-off yet at Crestview, but I'm sure, or at Churchville, but I'm sure it's not very good. Being a teacher, I know what that can look like. And I just think it's something that we should definitely take a look at as more businesses start to move into the north side of Elmhurst, and that's what we all want. We want safety, and we want a strong economy for Elmhurst. So I thank you for your time.
Joe Martucci. Those are C's.
My name is Joe Martucci. I've been a resident on the north end of Elmhurst for 56 years. It's called Crown Estates. My father-in-law happened to be the builder there. We have a row of townhouses, which is more congesting than it's ever been before. But the intersection right now at Diversey and York, residents are referring to it as Suicidal Corner. In the past 56 years that I've been there, there's been several accidents from what I understand, and the records show that there's been a few deaths there also. We have other neighbors here that are going to come forward and speak to you and let you know what's going on. There's 1,000 children that access Diversey and York for junior high schools, Churchville and Conrad Fisher. My children went there in the past years, and also York High School. You have McDonald's on the west side, you have Dunkin' Donuts, you have burritos, you have Marino's down the street, which has increased the traffic tremendously. You have the Shell gas station there, you have a new Italian restaurant there called Mangia Italiano, and there's 2 automobile car shops there also, and gas stations on the corner. It's impossible to exit Diversey onto York Road, either going north or south. There's been many a morning when I left the house, had to make a right going north and then make a U-turn to come back to go south. There's people who have crossed the street there with food in their hand, buying food and bringing it to their home into townhouses, who have gotten hit by cars. There's been several accidents over there. It's just been astronomically bad, and we need some help here. I hope you take it into consideration, and I want to thank the council for taking the time to listen to me. And that's it. Thank you.
Joanne Saporta.
Joanne who?
Saporta? Is that correct?
Supporta.
Saporta.
I'm Joanne Saporta, and I'm a resident of Jill Court for 53 years. And yes, that has been dubbed Suicide Quarter. There are several accidents there. I have been rear-ended there, making a right-hand turn, going into the turning lane, and somebody just barreled into me. I was down by Mariano's, and my car was totaled. And I think if there were a stoplight there, that may have deterred this man from going 50 miles an hour down York Road and totaling 5 cars. I was one of them. Last time I saw an accident there, I saw a smashed-in car. They had taken the driver away, and there was McDonald's food all over the street. That was pathetic. I really can't tell you how important this is. It's very, very important. It's imperative that something has to be done here. Thank you.
Pete DeCiani.
How's that one right? Hi, Pete DeCiani, 753 Fairfield Avenue in Elmhurst, and your county board member for District 2. Many of you know that I grew up on the north side of Elmhurst, and many of my siblings, there were 7 of us, attended Churchville Middle School. All of them took a bus that went through York and Diversey. 1,000 kids take buses and go through that area. To Conrad Fisher, they come from Addison, they come from from Bensonville and the north side of Elmhurst. Kids from Emerson go to Churchville, et cetera. So not only do we have the biggest stormwater apparatus in the county, in our great town, we also have the biggest TIF district that we all put in, many of us together, to see development happen in the north side of town. And that's happened. We've got Mariano's, we've got a lot of new businesses. I know we're talking about a comprehensive plan for walkability and really to make the north side mirror the central business district and as well as the south side. So I speak on behalf of these residents. I speak on behalf of our family who's from the north side of Elmhurst, and also on behalf of my late father-in-law who spent 5 years at Elmbrook. Elmbrook is a nursing home that takes care of a lot of our veterans. The reason why my father-in-law was there was he's a World War II vet, and they took all veterans there.
Long and the short, there's no walkability. There's no way to cross over to the other side of York and maybe walk to the park. He was in a wheelchair, difficult to maneuver. We would take him to the little Italian place on Sundays for dinner. But that's also a challenge, I think, that could be overcome. Between 16 accidents that were given to me in a report since 2015. We have a walkability issue for all those people that live to the west, or excuse me, to the east, that want to come over and visit those those businesses, as well as the folks that are in that nursing home that could use a walk and a breath of fresh air that might want to go visit the east side of York Road. So I think this could be a win-win. This may be eligible for community block grant money, which would be a federal grant. Those applications from the county are being taken this summer. So we're asking that the study, because I know that studies need to be done for this, would take place after school starts, which would be in August, so that we can get a good idea of bus loads of children that are going through that intersection. I know Mrs. Bailey, who's retiring from Conrad Fisher, has issued a letter of support for this, as well as many of the businesses. So I have, Mr. Martucci forgot to introduce over 400 petitions from local residents that want to see this intersection protected. So I ask for your leadership and your guidance. We've done a great job up there with development. One of the reasons why Bob Mariano wanted the North York corridor was because the traffic counts were higher than South Elmhurst. But we all know that you know, this is a destination retailer and people come from all over, as well as it should. So now we need to protect our north end and make it better. And so between hopefully community block grant money, and I know we've got TIF funds that we could use to help improve this intersection, hopefully we can get this done. But I appreciate your leadership. Thank you. I'm going to turn these petitions into the clerk, but I'll give them to Alderman Mulliner. Thank you.
Peggy Lipton.
Hi, I'm Becky Lipton. I live on Cayuga. And I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Elmhurst. I just want to point out that next week will be the 100th anniversary of the adoption of the 19th Amendment to our Constitution, giving women the right to vote. Illinois was the first state to ratify the amendment. We beat Wisconsin by 1 hour. So I also would like to note that right now there are 110 women in the U.S. Congress, 74 women in statewide elective executive posts. Here in Elmhurst, 4 of our 14 aldermen, 5 of the 7 school board members, and 3 of the 7 park board commissioners are women. And I hope that our town recognizes this important milestone. Thank you.
Last, we have Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys.
Claude Pagash, 566 West Gladys. I'd like the city council to give up coming up with ordinances and building codes and zoning. You don't follow it. That's been proved by what's had taken place on Addison at the last meeting. You argued about 4-story, and then we argued that 4-story was no good. It had to be 6-story. Now it's 8-story. Other projects that have gone in town haven't followed any zoning or any building code at all. So why don't you give up on it? You spend a lot of money getting consultants, having meetings, and then when you come down here to vote on it, you just say, oh, well, it's on the books, but it don't count. So leave it alone. Just don't debate it anymore. When somebody comes in and wants to put up a 2,000-foot building, you guys will go along with it. So leave it alone. Don't add to it, don't change it, don't bring it up in committee. You're wasting the public's money. Now, I was rather surprised about the last meeting. Elmhurst College wants a piece of street. First time that I've sat in one of these meetings when I had an alderman say that they were going to get 24% of the value of that street. And he was backed up. You guys are giving away more public land for $1. Why would Elmhurst College you have to charge with 24%? And you're proud of it. Then why'd you give all that other public land away for $1? Seems stupid, right? But on the same night, you bought a piece of retention property for water. Over $500,000. You should have got that agent to evaluate the street. And you came up with $2.7 million to buy a strip of property on Addison. That was in a TIF and I wasn't getting any money from that. And now it's publicly owned and we don't get any tax dollars out of it at all. So you guys got to decide what you want to do. You want to follow what you vote in, or do you just want to sit around and say, well, geez, let's just change it? Because that's what you've been doing, endlessly. So somebody walks in and says they want to do it, you guys just jump at it and say, go ahead and do it. That fitness center doesn't have parking. What did an alderman say? Well, they can use the parking lot.
Mr. Pagash, could you wrap up your comments, please?
Sure, well, you could go down to the parking lot and you could park anywhere you wanted because nobody uses it.
Okay, that concludes public forum.
Okay, that's public forum for those who signed up at this time. Is there anybody who did not have an opportunity to sign in on our sign-in sheet before the meeting, but wishes to address the council at this time? If so, please raise your hand so I can get a count. 1. Okay, you're up.
Hello, my name is Tamika Steck-Schulte. I'm a resident of Willow Road on the north end of Elmhurst. I've been a resident here for approximately 13 years. My apologies for not signing up to speak initially. I was a little nervous, but after much thought, I've decided that my children's safety is too important not to speak to you tonight. So I'm here to tell you that I currently have 3 children, a senior starting at York in the fall, an 8th grader starting at Churchville in the fall, and a 1st grader at Conrad Fisher in the fall. And I am really concerned about this intersection that has been talked about earlier tonight at the corner of York and Diversey. I have a new driver. She just turned 17. I'm terrified for her to take my vehicle. I will not even let her take my vehicle because it is a new 2019 Honda Pilot, and I do not want her taking it on that intersection because I also have a friend who was in an accident approximately a year ago at that exact intersection where she was T-boned because as she tried to make a left onto York Road, she was looking right. When she thought it was safe to turn, she pulled out to make her left-hand turn, and a car hit her right on her driver's side door. And she was injured, bodily injury, as well as her vehicle was damaged, and it was terrifying. To this point, she's still nervous at that intersection, some 12 months later. So I ask you to please consider, find some money in whatever budget you have to please consider a crosswalk, a marked crosswalk, and a stoplight so that people slow down and take notice of people trying to turn onto York Road and for children trying to get across York Road, either to the restaurants on the other side or to their homes on the other side. I please ask you to consider this. Think of it as if it were your children crossing this intersection. Please don't forget about the children on the north end of town. They deserve to be as safe as any other child in Elmhurst. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Pete, you're killing me. You were like...
I'm sorry, Mayor. You know, I asked not everybody to set up for public comment, but if we could just go to show of hands from this area that's here for the intersection, because not everybody spoke, and I just want to show the number of people that came out for this, because out of respect for your time, I didn't want 20 people, 30 people speaking, but to give you a little flavor. Sorry about that, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks, Pete. Always good to see you. All right, anyone else? Seeing none, we will move on to announcements. Any announcements from the dais? Alderman York.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have a couple announcements tonight. First and foremost, and I know I've never heard an announcement like this before, but I would like to say happy birthday to my neighbor, Helen Gorman, who's going to turn 105 years old tomorrow.
Wow. Fantastic.
She just talked to her yesterday, so we're going to go over and wish her happy birthday tomorrow, but she was born 5 years before women had the right to vote. Kind of put it in perspective. We heard about that tonight. She's doing great. She lives in her own home, most of the time by herself. She does have some help come in, but she has a fabulous family that visits her all the time. She's very active. She actually chased my son around when he was learning how to ride his bike, probably less than 10 years ago, around the block and everything. So amazing person. Happy birthday, Helen, 105 years old. So. Okay. I have no comment there. Second announcement is that we're less than 2 months away from the Elmhurst Cycling Classic. It's Friday, July 26th. The website is active and taking volunteers. It's elmhurstcyclingclassic.com. Again, Friday, July 26th. We can't do it without 150 or so volunteers from the community. We're very excited. Please visit our website, sign up for volunteering. Thank you.
Okay, any other announcements? Seeing none, we'll go on to consent agenda at this time. Is there any item on the consent agenda any alderman wishes to have removed to provide further comment or vote no? I got to get used to this. Alderman Bram.
Should be looking that way.
7.24.
7.24, okay. All right, anyone else? All right, give me a second here to get ready.
Not yet. You gonna take a motion yet?
Yeah, I haven't done that yet. Okay, I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item 7.24. Motion by Alderman Brennan, second by Alderman Levin. Clerk Spencer.
York.
Aye.
Ludo.
Aye.
Park. Absent. Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Conquest.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Deuter. Absent. Sabatino.
Aye.
Dunn. He's absent. Leader. Absent. Bram.
Aye.
Lumsky.
Aye.
That's 10 ayes, 0 nays, 4 absent.
An aye, 0 nays, motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Minus item 7.24. On to agenda item 7.24. It's a resolution. I will ask for Clerk Spencer to read the resolution.
Resolution authorizing the issuance of a notice of award and contract for the 2019 pavement striping program.
Wrong one.
That's the next one down.
What's the next one? 2.4, not 2.3.
Isn't that 7.24?
It does say 7.24.
Has been mislaid.
Oh, that's an old one. Take that one.
Something was pulled, wasn't it?
We
We renumbered everything.
Just read the title off of that one.
A resolution to set the rate for sewage treatment from Illinois American Water Company.
Okay, to put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve the resolution as read. By Alderman Toledo, second by Alderman York. Alderman Toledo?
I'll defer to the person that pulled the report.
Okay, Alderman Bram, you pulled this. Floor is yours.
Yeah, not much more to say compared to 2 weeks ago when I was on a different committee. I just have concerns over the Elmhurst residents who are in this area who are needing to go through Illinois American Water, and therefore these charges would significantly increase their water bills, so therefore I can't support it.
Okay, any other comments? I'll ask for a motion to approve. Motion is read. I'm sorry, I'll ask for Clerk Spencer to call the vote.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Oh, we did have a motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toledo and York.
Yeah.
Okay. Park absent. Kennedy.
Aye.
Onquist.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Boyder is absent. Sabatino.
Aye.
Dunn, absent. Leader, absent. Bram
No.
and Palumski.
Aye.
Oh, I missed 11, I'm sorry, at 11.
Because he was questioning who did the motion anyway.
Punished for it.
Okay.
What do we got, 11 to 1?
You're not here.
9 to 1.
9 ayes, 1 nay, 4 absent.
9 ayes, 1 nay, motion carries. Agenda item 7.24 is approved. On to reports and recommendations. Mayor Morley, that's me. Okay, first and foremost, we had our Memorial Day Parade. Well, I was going to say last Memorial Day. A week ago today, we had our Memorial Day Parade that's put on by our Veterans Commission and the Chamber, among many who make it possible. So I want to thank everybody who was involved in that, making it a successful day. We had great weather. It seems like for the first time in a couple of Memorial Days. Lori Tompos, I'm hoping pronouncing that correctly. She was our Grand Marshal. I want to congratulate her and her entire family. And I want to thank everyone for making it a successful day. I think a lot of the people involved, while it was a day of celebration, almost everybody who's involved made sure that we understood what Memorial Day was for. And it really is to honor those who gave their lives in combat, defending what we believe as a nation. So our thoughts and prayers are with them, and it was a very successful day. Our farmers market in town is now open. It opens up Wednesday, June 5th from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the corner of York and Villette, the northeast corner, kind of behind the set of shops there. And that runs every Wednesday until, what do you say, Jim?
The fall.
The fall. We're going to go with the fall on that one, okay. The trolley, Elmhurst Trolley, started last weekend, over 800 riders. The first weekend it was open, it runs noon to midnight, Friday and Saturday, and that will run until
September.
Beer Fest.
Beer Fest.
Beer Fest, the fall. Okay, last one for me as mayor. As council and audience is aware, I have been urging our counterparts at District 205 to come to the table and work with us. Council will recall that at the beginning of one of their last meetings, before they swore in their new board members, the Board of Education had a statement. I have since sent 2 letters to, well, I sent 1 letter to President Cafario responding to the statement, and then on May 28th, I sent an open letter to Elmhurst Community Unit District 205 to all of the elected members there. There is a copy of it posted on our website. And what I did in that letter is urge District 205 to help us with the 2 stormwater projects that they are able to help us with. I basically laid out what the city's last offer was. In addition, I reiterated my preference and offer to meet with them in public. I'm doing everything I can to make all of this public because I believe both District 205 and the City of Elmhurst serve the same residents. I know that the District 205 has a couple of folks outside of Elmhurst, but for the most part, I'd say there's probably a 95% overlap. So I would urge everybody, as I did during our last meeting, please continue to urge your board members, your 205 board members, to converse with the city. You can read it all. I tried to make it as succinct as possible in the letter, so I would ask all of you to read that letter. Now, I have not heard from District 205. I did leave a message for President Caforio. In all fairness, it was late this afternoon, but I wanted to do my best to keep the lines of communication. So I've not heard from her yet, but that could be because of the lateness of my call. But District 205 did post on their website on the 31st acknowledgement of the letter that they received, and a couple of the things that they stated in their post is the remarks inaccurately characterize the negotiations pertaining to an intergovernmental agreement between the city's use of the portions of York High School and Jackson. That's just a portion of what they've written. That is really the reason why I want to have these conversations in public. I don't think these he said, she said conversations or they said conversations are productive at all. Certainly don't work when they're one step removed and they're handled by lawyers. No offense to any lawyers in the audience. So that's my reason why I'm asking for this in public. I'm not saying that we don't disagree, but let's disagree publicly and let the residents figure out where they think things are. The other thing is that in their statement, they say the Board of Education has chosen not to engage in political rancor and posturing, which I'm surprised by, since they're the ones who started with the public statement coming out of a closed session. I'm merely responding, so I would ask for clarification on that if and when we do get together. And finally, the board twice states that they believe that the residents of Elmhurst deserve solutions to flooding. They also say the board's response to the city will carefully consider the city's requested stormwater management projects without losing sight of the board's primary mission. I would ask that the board, when they're carefully considering the city's request, which I'm making on behalf of all residents of Elmhurst, that the board carefully considered that the same residents just voted to give the board $68 million to help them. These same residents are asking for your help at a much smaller scale. In fact, truly at no cost. The city is willing to bear the cost of these projects on the school property. So I'm going to continue to have these reports about our progress between the schools and Elmhurst 205. I do believe that the residents deserve answers. We've had a pretty major storm event just last week. What day was it, Jim?
Sunday and Monday.
Sunday, Monday, Memorial Day, actually. It was Memorial Day, to the point where I couldn't even get out of my own driveway. This has been the wettest May on record since 1871, with over 8.2 inches of rain. It's over 4.5 inches above normal. We posted a press release on Memorial Day. I think we had over a half an inch of rain within 10 minutes. I think the total storm event for the day in certain parts of Elmhurst was 2.6 inches. That is a lot of rain. That is not normal. We continue to break records, not the kind of records we like, but we continue to break records as it relates to that. I'm very happy to say that every stormwater project that we put into place functions as it should, and took on water. The amount of you can't count how many homes we saved. Just the amount of people who are so grateful, who we've either posted online, who have called, who have written. This was probably the biggest test we've had of our stormwater infrastructure since I've been mayor. And it was happy to actually show some of the answers to these residents who are asking for help. But that being said, there's residents that are near Jackson School and residents that are near York High School who do not have the same relief as the other residents during these events. There are other residents who still have to watch weather reports and get nervous every time it rains in Elmhurst. We have the ability to help them, but not without the school board pitching in. That's my report. City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll do City Manager, and then if Aldermen want to jump in, that's great.
Thank you. To that point, I know a lot of residents have contacted us about standing water in backyards, and we've gotten a number of requests from aldermen to look at that as well. We are getting to those as we can with our engineering staff. Thank you for the patience. But as Mayor said, this is the second wettest spring on record and the wettest May that we've ever had. So we recognize that there is still some standing water out there, and we're getting to those. The only other item I have to offer is that the Tollway is hosting an open house for the 294 widening and everything that's going on with that. That's going to be June 11th at the Berkeley Village Hall from 5 to 7, and we have information about that on the website for anybody who wants to see more.
Okay, before I ask for Alderman for any reports, one thing I forgot to add in my report, and it's a bit of a reminder every time we do have a big flood. A couple of things. First of all, the quarry does not need to be turned on. A button needs to be pushed. There is an actual physical weir that it's a low side of the creek, and the creek will automatically overflow even if nobody pushes a button. But it's also important to understand that the quarry primarily just keeps water in the creek. Tree streets, pine and myrtle and those up there, not pine, myrtle and evergreen and those. Oak, evergreen, tree streets. The tree street people know what I'm talking about. They're connected directly to the quarry. They also do not have a button to push. It just goes into the quarry. The last thing that I want to make state about stormwater management in Elmhurst is part of stormwater management is in the street. So during bad rains, there are going to be times where streets will fill up. A great example would be Crescent. So Crescent actually on the east side of York does have a stormwater project right next to our fire department, and that took on water. But the street on Crescent also took on water. The key point, though, is the homes did not. So that is important to know. My street did the same thing during Memorial Day. Streets taking on water is part of the system. Streets taking on water is not great, but it's not a bad thing when it's compared to homes taking water. So that's it. Alderman Muller, you had a report.
Yeah, I'd like to just take a second, if you don't mind, and follow up on the flooding. I have to applaud the city as far as how it's accomplished a number of things. I went to Madison, York Commons. I went to most of the flood situations on the south end, the control systems that we put in. 12 hours later, I went back to those same ones. They were empty. So they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They're working the way that they're supposed to. That doesn't mean they're dry. That just means that the main water is out of them. It takes a few days for everything to dry out if we don't have rain. Having said that, a couple of things that I just want to make people aware of, and I'd like the school district to take and think a little bit about. And the first thing is that some of the projects that we've done, one of the examples, the mayor mentions that these projects mainly take place in District 205. We did have a project that we had proposed to do at Bryan, which was in District 205. We moved it over to the Royal York because they were willing to work with us. Royal York is not in District 205, it's in Salt Creek School District. So it's another school district that's helped us out in a different way. I also want to make a comment that I'd like to ask the school district board members. I have no problem with somebody picking up the phone and calling me. I want people to keep in mind that the lands that we look at when we drive around the city and we drive around this area, the parks, the schools, the county lands, the federal lands that are around, those don't belong to a particular entity. They belong to the public. and they need to be used by the public. However, we can use those to benefit the public in the best possible way. So it would be extremely helpful for us to have an opportunity to have discussions, and I truly believe that it's really important for us to have these discussions in the open. I think that we're trying to do things to help the city, to help all the schools, to help everyone, and I don't think that it's fair to the public to do these meetings behind closed doors. I think they need to be out in the open where everybody can see what the discussion is, and people can add their 2 cents to it, because it always helps to have more voices. The more voices, the better the solution to the problem. So thank you for giving me a moment to speak to that.
Okay, Alderman Bram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to announce for the 3rd Ward specifically, starting today, the IDOT project for the Emery Avenue Bridge over 290 started today, and therefore that bridge is closed to vehicular traffic as well as pedestrian traffic. So you will need to find a detour. The detour is stated on the City of Elmhurst website. So if you go to elmhurst.org, under Newsflash, you will find that map. But that is, again, closed to not only vehicular, but pedestrians. And I know a lot of the residents use that bridge to go to Field School, and therefore you will not be able to utilize that for about 45-plus days.
Okay, Alderman Polomsky.
Thank you, Mayor. So I appreciate some of the comments about flooding and the need to continue to do more. So the city and 205 are friends, but sometimes friends disagree. You know, and because our points of contention involve public lands and public dollars, they can only be resolved in public, in a public forum like this. The mayor offered some time ago the opportunity to resolve these issues, not just in a public meeting, but with a mutually agreed upon mutual moderator. I'd like to encourage 205 to please reconsider this and come talk with us, and especially with the forum where I feel there's no risk and we need to wrap up these discussions. Thank you.
Alderman Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just on the whole flooding idea, just to reiterate, anybody that's added on a patio or done new construction or any way added net impervious to their property over the last several years, they've been required to do stormwater detention mitigation so that we don't add more water as runoff to the system. And so as the school district moves forward with their projects, they need to be aware that those same requirements are out there for commercial, residential, and for the schools. And so they'll need to follow those rules, and I would hope that they're getting up to speed on those requirements, because ignorance does not beget innocence when it comes to our requirements for stormwater. Now, certainly when they build a school, they do not have to follow our building codes. There's separate codes out there, but our zoning requirements, they do need to follow, and stormwater falls under that purview. So it's very important that they understand those requirements, come up to speed, and take those into account while they're doing their planning, because those take time to be reviewed, and if they want to keep their projects on time, they need to make sure they're covering those bases. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Honquist.
I'm going to continue on the theme of stormwater. As some know, when I started as an alderman in 2013, this was our #1 issue. To Alderman Kennedy's points, there's been a lot that the city has done, both with these projects as well as with our policy to address stormwater. And this past month, I think, was a good illustration that what we've been doing is working. We're trying to get 2 projects done. One of the big objections I hear and have heard in the past, as I was part of a communication committee that worked with the schools going back about 5 years ago, is that it is their land, and they have to be careful and judicious in how they use that. And I would absolutely agree with that. I have 5 children that are, have either gone through or are still at 205. So I'm a fan of 205 and what they do from an education standpoint. But I just want to point out that of the 14 locations that 205 administers, we've asked for help at 4, Brian, we did not get help at, and the spot that we did not get help at is now a junkyard, and it needs to be addressed on the corner of Bryan's School. And I know many residents have talked to me about it, and it's an area that we have not pressed them because we've been trying to work through these issues. In addition, much of what we've asked for at either Jackson School, to my earlier comments, and/or York, would total the number of projects to 3 that we're working on. We've done 1 project to date at Madison. So I don't think what the city's tried to do has been, number one, overbearing as far as the number of locations that we've asked for. The process we've gone through has been consistent with what we're doing across the city. And finally, many communities throughout Northern Illinois are using these same tactics to address stormwater, whether it's Naperville. I drive through Buffalo Grove and Lincolnshire consistently, and they have similar situations. So this is not an ask that I just want to underline that I think is something that's extremely unique or something specific to Elmhurst, other than we are landlocked. And as we've talked in the past, we need help from our partners, in this case, from the school district. So for those of you that are not familiar with this, on our webpage, you can go and look under our YouTube site, click on playlists, and look under stormwater communication. And what we tried to do 5 years ago is still there. You can follow those conversations and the discussions we had. And my last point is we tried diligently to get this accomplished 5 years ago. I'm very disappointed that we now have more posts of why we can't get this done going forward. It's not a huge ask. As the mayor's outlined, we're willing to do this in public, we're willing to do this with a mediator, we're willing to do this any way possible to get this done, which has included financial, not only us covering the financial aspects of these projects, but also moving some money to the school district to help out on some of this. So I think we've been about as fair as we can be. This has gone on for too long, and I think it's time we either meet in public again and get this done once and for all, or work with a mediator. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Alderman York?
Thank you, Your Honor. So a lot has been said. I think, you know, this has been a battle since 2010, the flooding, that is, right after we came into office in 2009. I'd like to say that, I think Elmhurst has a lot, you often refer to the crown jewels and stuff like that. I think our school district is one of those crown jewels. We have a school district that's become really focused on curriculum and academics and stuff, and has made some really good progress there. It just befuddles me why we can't, carry that over and have a spirit of cooperation amongst the taxing bodies. I'd like to thank you for, kind of laying everything out in the letter and bringing to light just what the city has offered. And this doesn't even include what we offered, years and years ago as well, too. We have made offers that have just never probably seen the light of day, to be quite honest with you. But the way I calculate it is, if you add up all these things in the letter, it's more like almost $8 million of benefit to District 205. And when you consider, and the numbers are going to be a little bit off, but probably only a third of the households in the city really have direct benefits of the services of District 205. It adds value to the entire community. There's no doubt about it. What we've done with TIF districts and so on and so forth adds value to the entire community, which is beneficial to all the taxing bodies here. So I appreciate you taking the time to lay this out. I'm just hopeful that at the end of the day we can get some face-to-face discourse and achieve some action on this. So,
Okay. Any other reports? Seeing none, we'll go on to ordinances. 9.1. Before I ask clerk to read this, City Attorney, we have a scrivener's error in the title.
We do. It's only in the title, Mr. Mayor, where it says fence. That should be FAR,
Okay.
floor area ratio.
So should she read it with the correction?
Yes.
Okay, so Jim, could you make sure that in the second line of the title of the zoning ordinance, we say setback and fence, and it should be setback and FAR, which stands for floor area ratio. She can say floor area ratio, right? Either one?
You can, either one, yeah.
She can say either one, Jim. FAR or floor area ratio.
Okay.
Clerk Spencer, you good to go? I would ask Clerk Spencer to read the ordinance.
An ordinance granting variations from the setback and floor area ratio requirements at the property commonly known as 130-34 West Arthur and 217 South Cottage Hill, Elmhurst, Illinois.
Okay, to put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve the ordinance as read. Motion by Alderman Honquist, second by Alderman Mulliner. Alderman Honquist.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We move this, this was an earlier part on our agenda tonight, and we're asking to address it tonight as well, given the timetable that in this case IC has to get this work going over the summer months. So we're asking for support to get that done tonight. Thank you.
Okay, comments? Seeing none, I ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Park, absent, Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Honquist.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Boyer, absent. Sabatino.
Aye.
Dunn, absent. Leader, absent. Bram.
Aye.
Lumpsky.
Aye.
So that's 10 ayes, 0 nays, 4 absent.
10 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries. Agenda item 9.1 is approved. On to agenda item 10, this is a resolution. I would ask Clerk Spencer to read the resolution.
A resolution to approve and authorize the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Elmhurst, Illinois, and the Village of Villa Park in connection with the St. Charles Road Bridge Rehabilitation Project.
Okay, to put this before council, I'll ask for a motion to approve the resolution as read. Motion by Alderman Kennedy, second by Alderman Sabatino. Alderman Kennedy?
No comment.
All right. This is basically take care of the bridge over there over Salt Creek, right? And how we split up the work between City of Elmhurst and Villa Park. All right. Any other comments? Clerk Spencer.
York.
Aye.
Toledo.
Aye.
Park, absent, Levin.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Honquist.
Aye.
Brennan.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Boyer, absent. Sabatino.
Aye.
Dunn, absent. Leader, absent. Bram.
Aye.
Lumpsky.
Aye.
10 ayes, 0 nays, 4 absent.
10 ayes, 0 nays, motion carries. Agenda item 10.1 is approved. On to other business. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Alderman Mulliner, second by Alderman Honquist. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.